the jealousy that ate me alive. I've always been the kind of person who tries to be happy for others, even when I can't help but feel a twinge of jealousy. I mean, I don't exactly want to feel envious, but it's hard not to. Especially when the person I'm envious of is my best friend, Sarah. We've been best friends for over a decade. Since middle school, we've been inseparable. But that doesn't mean I haven't envied her, because, honestly, I have. Sarah is one of those people who just seems to have everything. She comes from an extremely wealthy family, always had the best clothes, the most extravagant vacations, and a social life that people dream of. She was never the one who had to work a part-time job through college to pay the bills. Her family always took care of everything. And, honestly, I could never quite shake the feeling that it wasn't fair. I came from a pretty modest background. My parents were hardworking, but we never had that kind of luxury. While Sarah was out shopping for designer handbags, I was trying to stretch the few dollars I had left after paying rent. But over the years, a bitterness began to grow inside me. I would never say it out loud, but there were times when I couldn't help but wonder why I was stuck in my life while she seemed to be living in a fairy tale. But things really started to unravel for me when she met Jake. It happened about 6 months ago. Sarah had been single for a while. She'd been dating casually, but no one ever seemed to stick. I'd always been supportive of her, but in the back of my mind, I'd wondered if I'd ever meet someone like her. And then, out of nowhere, Jake appeared. He was everything Sarah deserved. Handsome, confident, successful, charming, the perfect guy. He swept her off her feet in a matter of weeks, and they were an instant match. I could tell from the way they looked at each other that he was different from the others. He was the kind of man you could see Sarah marrying one day. But the thing was, I couldn't stop thinking about him. Every time I saw them together, it was like a dagger to my heart. I should have been happy for her, but all I could focus on was how perfect he was. How perfect their relationship was. How perfect her life was. That's when the idea first crossed my mind, what if I could have him for myself? I don't know what possessed me. Maybe it was the growing jealousy, maybe it was the resentment I had been building up for years, or maybe I was just sick of feeling like I was always in Sarah's shadow. But it felt like the only way to even the playing field. It started innocently enough. I'd make casual, flirty comments when we were all hanging out. Nothing too obvious, just enough to get his attention. He'd laugh it off, and Sarah would roll her eyes, playfully calling me out for teasing him. But I could see the spark between us. At first, I told myself I was just having fun, just messing around. But then, something shifted. I realized that I was really enjoying the attention. More than I should have. I started making more of an effort to spend time with Jake, outside of the usual group hangouts. It wasn't hard, he was always happy to be around me. We'd chat for hours about everything, from stupid memes to deeper conversations about our lives. I found myself getting drawn to him, and before I knew it, I was looking for every excuse to text him, to see him, to talk to him. A week into it, I could tell Jake was starting to warm up to me. He'd compliment me more, give me longer looks, and even find ways to touch me casually. I could feel the chemistry building, and, honestly, I was getting excited. It felt like everything I had ever wanted was within reach. I knew I was being manipulative, but the more time I spent with him, the more I convinced myself that I was justified. One night, Sarah had to cancel plans with both of us. She was busy with work, and Jake and I ended up going out for drinks, just the two of us. It was late, we were both tipsy, and things started to get intense. Our conversations became more intimate, and before I knew it, we were kissing. It was electric, and everything inside me screamed that this was wrong, but the jealousy and desire clouded my judgment. I kissed him back, and for a moment, I thought that maybe I could win. That night didn't end there. One kiss turned into 2, then 3, and by the end of it, we were in his bed. I spent the entire night there, waking up to the reality of what I had done. I had betrayed my best friend. I had crossed a line I never thought I would. I knew this was going to ruin everything, but at that moment, I was too far gone. The desire for him had taken over, and I didn't know how to stop. The next few days were a blur. I could barely look Sarah in the eye when we hung out, but I tried to act normal. I was still texting Jake, but it was different now. The dynamic had changed. We both knew what had happened, and it felt like this little secret was festering between us. I started to feel guilty, deeply guilty. I had always told myself I wasn't capable of betraying her like this. She had always treated me so well. She never once made me feel less than, and here I was, sabotaging her happiness. It was as if everything I had told myself about justifying this relationship fell apart when I realized the depth of my betrayal. As the days passed, I became more paranoid. Every time Sarah and I hung out, I worried she could tell something was off. Every time Jake looked at me, I saw the shadow of the lie hanging between us. And the worst part was, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to keep seeing Jake. I realized I had crossed a line I couldn't come back from. I couldn't stop thinking about how much I was losing. I was jeopardizing not only my friendship with Sarah but also my own sense of who I was. I had allowed jealousy to consume me, and now it was unraveling everything I held dear. I found myself retreating, not just from Sarah, but from Jake as well. I had no idea how to fix the mess I had made, and I didn't know if I even deserved to fix it. One afternoon, Sarah called me out of the blue. We hadn't talked much in the past week, and I could tell from her voice that something was off. "Hey, are you okay? You've been acting weird lately." I froze. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to confess everything, to beg for her forgiveness, but the other part of me feared it would be too late. "I'm fine," I lied. "Just a little stressed, you know." She was quiet for a moment, and I could hear her sigh. "You know you can tell me anything, right?" And that was the moment when I realized just how much I had taken for granted. Sarah had always been there for me, and now I was lying to her face. I couldn't live with this anymore. I couldn't live with the fear that she would find out, and I couldn't live with the shame that I had hurt her. The truth is, I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I haven't confessed to Sarah, and I don't know if I ever will. But every day, the guilt is growing heavier. I regret everything. I regret allowing jealousy to cloud my judgment. I regret thinking that taking something from her would make me feel better about myself. The one thing I know for sure is this: I don't want to lose her. I don't want to lose the friendship we've built over the years. I just don't know how to fix what I've broken.